Magic. They are the Magic Guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 235 of the Magic Guys. I'm Josh Norbito. Next to me is
Nick K, and underneath me is...
My name is Douglas Kahn. At least if you're calling me for a bill, it's Douglas Kahn.
You heard that here first, folks.
That's how I know you're sus. If you say, is Douglas there? I'm like, I'm not talking to you very long.
Yeah, that's definitely someone sus if they're asking for your full name. If I ever hear it, whenever in an email I hear Joshua, I'm like, come on, mate. That's not.
Oh, get to the back of the line.
When you get I get the phone calls and it's like, hello, can I speak to Nicholas? Nicholas? And I'm like, no idea who that is, buddy. Gotta go.
We're gonna have to start calling you Nick Coolis.
New phone, who this?
From now on.
Nicholas.
That's anyway. Look, this is obviously the Magic Guys podcast, FISM award winning for interviewing fantastic guests who you'll see shortly.
Are we getting an actual award? Have we figured out if we get a thing, or you already got it, huh, Norbito? He sleeps with it under his pillow, and we haven't seen it yet.
Just a treasure chest of like $1 million.
Oh no! What about just stickers, but official stickers from the FISM? Could they do that for us? Just be like,
Look, we're not line to line, buddy. All right, we just we talk in a microphone. We're not quite Morton Christian.
Stickers are cheap, Josh. I'm not asking for much.
I'll take stickers. You know what? We're gonna have to look into this. Nick, who we got in the chat today? We got some friends.
In the chat, we have a good friend, Scotty Link, Tim Askin. We have Ed Blysh. It was lovely to catch up with him and his lovely partner in Las Vegas, our good friend Scotty P. Oh, and our friends from Canada, the Magic Buzz. Good to see you here, friends. Guys, if you are in the chat, feel free to... Oh, Gutbuster Mike, good to see you, bud. If you guys do have questions, please pop them into the chat because today we have an awesome guest. Are you ready to bring on this fella? Say yep.
Yup.
Today's guest is a magician, mentalist, hailing all the way from San Diego. He's wowed crowds at the Magic Castle Chicago Lounge and corporate stages across the country of America. With an engineering mind and a showman's flair, he's hella smart and hella handsome, and he's here to have a chat with us today on the Magic Guys podcast. So please join me in welcoming my good friend, Derek Ostovani.
Oh, yeah.
Gentlemen.
Derek, welcome to the Magic Guys podcast. Please tell our friends, who are you and what do you do?
Hey, it's great to be here. My name is Derek Ostovani. I am out of San Diego, full-time professional magician, mostly the corporate circuit, but I do theaters, trade shows, cruise ships. I kind of trying to dabble a little bit and a lot to just, keep myself fresh.
Yeah, living it up, doing it all. It's so good. Do you have a favorite, by the way? Like a favorite cruise ship, trade show, corporate event? Nope, you love it all. Okay, good.
The trade shows are great because you go in for a couple of days, and then you come home, and it's usually during the week, and then you can still have your other gigs during the weekend. Cruise ships are great too. I love them. It's a great way to see the world. It's some of the best stages I've ever been on. You meet some fantastic people, and one of the best parts of it is you get somebody else to do your sound cues.
So it's nice having a tech. In fact, there's, as we perform more and more on stages, one of the things we do talk about on the show quite a lot is how we run the tech and so forth. Before we jump into how we go about doing cues, I wanted to share something that I was tinkering with over the weekend, and it's this little doodad, which I'm showing on screen right now. We are not sponsored for this little jigger, but this is called an Insta360 Flow 2 Pro. And what it is, it's like a little gimbal that you put your mobile device on, and basically the app connects to it and it tracks you with AI. So it's like having a camera operator. So once you plug a microphone into your phone, which basically sits like this, it does everything it's supposed to do. It's kind of awesome. It's a couple of $100, and it's like having your own camera operator. And so I just wanted to be able to capture stuff good and proper and at an affordable price. And basically, camera phones are pretty great nowadays. I mean, yes, I won't argue that like camcorder type cameras are going to be a lot better. I'm not going to dispute that. But I think for your social media and for content, it's actually a pretty cool little doodad. And I tried it out.
Is it also a gimbal? Did you say that?
Yeah, it's also a gimbal. So you can just use it as a gimbal as you walk around and so forth. So it's self-leveling. But then what's great about it is that you could just turn on the tracking so that when you're on stage, it literally just follows you around. And it is so...
I love it. I love that company. Are you using their Instacam Insta webcam? Yeah, I use one. I also a big fan of their Insta360 with the full capture, 360 view. That is a very cool product.
Yeah, it's very cool. And it's basically just clip this onto your phone and away you go. It also works with like other non-Apple phones. It's better with an Apple phone. I'm not going to try and sell the product with every single feature it has, but it's so nice to be able to capture things. Like I'm going to get a few of these so that I can just have like 3 cameras recording every close like stage set that I do, and then just giving that to my social media guy and going, cut it, edit it, make it awesome. But
no doubt, multi-camera vertical videos. Let's go.
So great. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But outside of that, queuing your show, audio wise, lighting wise, are you a QLab guy, Derek? Do you use other sort of software? Are you an Audio Ape guy? What's your deal?
Yeah. So, I think it's very important that, I don't have like a team of people or anything. And I don't always have people who can, make my show. So I do it all myself. I use MediaStar Pro from Pro Mystic. And
nice.
that's a great piece. And I just connect that into my iPad and have all my tracks set on Go Button, which is an amazing piece of free software, by the way. I've upgraded to the $100 so you can have different set shows. I used to just rearrange all my songs, and that just got such a pain. And so I just upgraded, and I have these different set shows, and it's beautiful.
I really wish there was a device out there, like it's the single box, which had your audio out, and it had like 2 universes of DMX that you could just be like, rock up to a venue, plug in your lighting like universe, and then just be like, I'm ready to do a show. And they're like, seriously? I'm like, yep. Everything I need is right there. Just
you think you got wishes? I'm still rocking the Walkman with the auxiliary audio card. and the audio tracks were captured off the radio in 1986.
Doug has one of those record players that you turn a crank like this, and it's like a big horn.
To get my audio, I called the DJ, and I'm like, "Can you play Magic by Steppenwolf?"
Yeah. And sorry, do you have a head? I need a headset mic, Doug. No. I got this horn that you just put over your mouth. You just put it over your mouth, and you talk to everyone.
Bob, I got a little something called the Happy Amp.
Happy Amp. Moving on.
How is that, Doug? I've heard of that. Is it good? You like it? You happy?
Let me tell you. Here's the great thing about the Happy Amp. I use one. No, listen. It fits in here. Okay, so you can put a sound system in a carry-on bag with all the props and so it's an on-the-go system that fits in a carry-on, and it's hard to it had enough power for me for a long time. I used one actually, but that's years ago.
Okay.
Well, I'm glad we got that sorted now.
I was just thinking how I could improve the theater of magic sort of thing, because when we play sort of music in between the shows, like we could actually use Go Button, where we could have another track which is just the audio voiceover telling people that like the second part of the show will start in 5 minutes time, please make your way back to your seat. You can just hit the Go button to do that, and get people to go back to their seats and so forth through the sound system. Like that is something that just struck me then, and that's what we learned through conversation. So
Derek, thanks for being our guest today and listening to us talk about our work. what do you like about my shows? No.
No. What I want to know is cruise ships. How do you pack for them? Because you can only put 2 cases at most in your show. What's the trick? What's the secret to packing small and playing big?
So that is a great question. And I see so many magicians just prop after prop after prop and table after table after table. You know, as you may or may not know, cruise ships require 2 different 45-minute sets. And I pretty much, I would say, get 90% of that in 1 case. Wow. And so, you know, the secret, what? I mean, you guys have heard it, right? Like, you pack small, play big. And, you know, I think a lot of mentalism does that. Now, I don't strictly do mentalism. I sprinkle mentalism in my show. So it's a combination of magic and mentalism. But also, you know, presentation is a huge part of your show. You know, and I take a lot of pride in my show being a show and not just trick after trick, right? It comes full circle. There's a theme, you know, and that kind of helps, you know, elongate the show. Not that I'm trying to drag it on. That's not it at all. But, you know, you want to have some substance to your routines, and you want to give your audience a reason to care instead of just going into it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. There's a clip. Have you seen Jeff Hobson's cruise ship show by chance? It's an old video, but is that something you've seen, Derek?
I mean, I don't know if I've seen that. I mean, I've seen him live do his whole show, and I've seen bits and pieces.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the same.
I don't know if I've specifically seen his cruise ship act.
It's essentially the same idea, right, of what you're saying, like having substance around what can even be a very basic trick in essence, right, that you make it play big and play like so great. Anyone listening should source it out. I think you can buy the show to view on his website, Jeff Hobson's website. But like, it's essentially 5 tricks over like a 45-minute show, and it's so entertaining, and he's dancing around, and he's got all these jokes amongst like stand-up comedy written into between the sets, and like there's so much happening. And basically when you watch his whole show, you realize his whole show can fit into a tiny little bag, and he's on a cruise ship. It's incredible.
So what I find interesting about that is that when you fill your show with personality, it can be difficult because it requires you to invest in your audience. Have you ever been in scenarios, Derek, where you've gone, okay, I'm going to pad this out with my personality, with my jokes and everything else, but then you find that like you're not getting the investment from the audience back? They just got a different mindset where it's like, no, we're just here to not be fooled. Don't try and distract me with your humor and your handsome looks. And then it doesn't kind of like hit. Have you ever been in a situation like that?
You know, every audience is different, and it's funny. Like one show comes to mind. I remember I was doing a show for a bunch of doctors, and I did, you know, close-up magic strolling for cocktail hour, and then I don't know, 45-minute show on stage. And I remember thinking during the cocktail hour, everybody was fun and jiving, and they were happy to participate, and it was all good, right? But all of a sudden, something switched the moment I went on stage. All of a sudden, nobody wanted to come up. Nobody wanted to come and help. And I think that largely speaks to the demographic, you know. I mean, doctors feel like they're very prestigious. And I mean, don't get me wrong, they do great things, right? But we're all people at the end of the day. And, you know, magic isn't about fooling somebody. That's not the purpose. It's a form of entertainment. It's an art. And I think a lot of them felt like, oh, well, if I react, does that mean I got fooled and my colleague didn't? Or if I go up on stage, is he going to embarrass me? And, you know, I don't know if they think that because they've seen other magicians embarrass people. That's not my style. I definitely don't do that. And I was really hard on myself after that show. And I was like, man, like what happened? And then, you know, maybe less than a week later, I did virtually the same show, and they loved it. You know, different audience, obviously, couldn't get enough of it, you know, praised me. And that's when I realized that the more you do this, you're going to realize that not every show is a 10, and it's not always your fault. You know, then when they say you're only as good as your audience, it's 100% true.
Yeah, I think it's important that we don't realize, like, magic is the gift that we give to them, and it's not their responsibility to do anything for us, in a sense that it's not their job to clap and cheer to make us feel good. They're still going to receive the magic in the way they're going to receive the magic. That is it. You know what I mean? Like, just because they're not expressing it through standing ovation and applause and whatever else, it does not mean that they're not enjoying it. I think that's
part of our job as professional magicians is to elicit the response, a desired response. And a lot of times people don't know how to respond to magic. So you're going to develop a relationship with your audience, and it won't always be clapping and cheering. Sometimes it'll be laughter. Some performances are just dramatic and don't have either of those other features. So yeah, that's important to develop that whole character and dynamic that, you know, gives the audience a ground, you know what I'm saying. I'll quit talking.
I do, but like, you know, question for the group. You know, you mentioned that there's probably scenarios in which a spectator has seen a magician or experienced a magician in which it's made them look foolish or just belittle them in some way. I really struggle to find, I guess with my style, I'll speak from my experience, that I've struggled to find an excuse, reason, or need to have to do that to a spectator. And I'm curious if you guys feel like there's ever a need to have to do that.
Sorry, just so summarizing that question, is there ever a need to do what? Sorry, to the.
Well,
to
if
the
people
audience?
are terrified of you getting up and making them look foolish on stage, making them look dumb, right?
Right.
Like, when is there ever a need to do that as a
So
performer?
that's just what I was saying. If you're the amazing Jonathan, then there's a need for that in your character and your performance, and you might do that. Unfortunately, the public might see that and relate it to an average magician, which God, let's hope we're not all embarrassing our spectators. It happens too often. Like, we've just accepted that's, you know, something we can do.
Yeah.
I think more in the past, but
yeah, because there is a good
100%.
answer to this. I just don't know what it is. Because
Yeah.
I've got friends of mine who built their entire careers by doing this, by taking the piss, if you will. So,
Yeah. And I really want to hear Derek's thoughts as well. The few things that are in my head are, like, at the Theatre of Magic, for example, we make a big point of letting people know this is an entirely interactive show, but we're not here to make fun of anyone. We're all going to be friends by the end of this. And I even now say, everyone's going to be involved in the show, whether you're just sitting in your seat or da-da-da-da. And if you genuinely don't want to come up on stage, it's okay to say no. And then I make a joke, but you will be asked to leave, and, you know, keep it light and fun or whatever. But I will say that because 1 in 100 times someone will say no, but it's not they're being rude. They're scared of that moment happening to them.
And a good example to prime in the audience, letting them know how we're going to work.
And then when we had John Armstrong on, he explained it really well too. He's like, your audience, you need to be on stage long enough for your audience to understand who you are and actually feel comfortable being a part of you on stage. Like, he says, too many magicians bring an audience member on too soon, and you haven't even really earned the right for them to be a part of it, you know? And so I try to take that in as well. So they're the things that come to mind from guests we've had and stuff. But Derek, what's your perspective? And where did you get your good looks from too?
I got it from my mama.
Derek looks like a magician. You were born to do this, obviously.
I do get that a lot. They're like, "Oh, you look like a magician," and I was like, "What? What's that?"
I said, "Yep." If you're watching from home, tune into YouTube and absorb the awesome magicness of Derek Ostovani.
You know who Derek looks like? Have you seen
Henry
the Days
Cavill?
Gone video game of the guy that rides the motorcycle and kills all the zombies?
I haven't
If
seen
that
it.
person looks
Dylan,
like
make a
Henry
video.
Cavill from Superman, then yes.
Oh, well, there's a little bit of that as
This
well.
will be the short.
Dylan will make a short. It'll be like Derek Ostovani and the guy who rides the motorcycle killing zombies. Same guy.
Yeah. Derek, do you ever get anyone saying, "Oh, you really look like an engineer"? Does that ever come up, or is it always magician?
No, that's never come up. And in fact, it's the opposite. They go, "You know what you don't look like? An engineer."
Yeah. So firstly, what's your take on audiences in respect to people being shy to come up or thinking they're getting embarrassed, like, do you handle that in some sort of way? Do you have a way of thinking about that?
I think no, I don't think that people are always embarrassed to come up because, or I should say, I don't think they're afraid to come up because you're going to embarrass them. I think the main reason most people don't want to come up is the fear of public speaking, right? Or being in front of an audience. They say that literally goes up there with the fear of dying, and I think
I think it's like the number one. Yeah. It's like number one fear. Right. Yeah. And so, I think that's kind of generally what it is. And I agree to that, subscribe to the idea of don't just start off your show and bring somebody up immediately, because they kind of have to know what they're getting into and what they're, who you are as a performer. And so I never do that. My first effects never involved an audience at first, because I want them to kind of sit. And I even start in my introduction. I go, look, for the next 45 minutes or so, I'm going to take you through a roller coaster of magic, and some of it you can sit back, relax, and watch what I do. But other parts of it are going to, involve you and involve, psychology and the mentalism part. So I kind of state that without kind of like taking back and saying, okay, like, this is an interactive show. You can come up. You don't have to. I don't know. I've never enjoyed saying that. I almost feel like it takes away from the show. Like, why should you have to say that? It should be implied. And yeah, I mean, they're there to watch you and enjoy you. Now, I think that the best audiences are always the people that are there for the magic, right? So like at your theater of magic, people are there coming to see magic. Oftentimes when I do a corporate event, they don't even know that there is entertainment, So it is our job to make our audience feel comfortable.
Yeah. What about in trade shows? Because in a trade show, you're not only do they not know there's a magician, but they're also not technically planning to even stop in that space. So you're sort of having to do everything in one go, like make them stop, stay, watch, get the message.
Sure. And that's a little bit of different environment. I think it's okay to be a little bit more aggressive, but also it's, well, let me rewind a little bit. It's okay to be aggressive because that's your job, right? You want to pull in people, not aggressive, in a negative way. But it's also a little bit different because, trade shows are for the most part kind of close up, maybe somewhere between close up and parlor. And I think people feel a lot more comfortable when it is close up. Like my example in the show for the doctors, you're doing a strolling, people were fine. It's when they're on stage in front of hundreds or thousands of people that they get uncomfortable.
That makes sense.
There is a level of audience management required across all these different platforms that you perform across. But Tim Askin is asking a question, asking, do you get many hecklers on the cruise ships, or are they pretty chill?
Yeah, no, I really don't. They are always chill. That's kind of equivalent to somebody going to a magic show, because they're on a cruise ship. Not only are they going to a magic show, but they are there to have fun, to relax, to be entertained, right? I mean, everything about a cruise ship is pretty much about that. And generally, depending on the cruise line, some of your spectators can be on the older side. And so, no, in my experience, I've never really had problems with hecklers on cruise ships. They're always great audiences.
Yeah. You ever had old people fall asleep in the show? Have you ever had old people fall asleep in the show? I don't think so. I remember seeing an old person falling asleep at the comedian show, and he really poked fun at the guy, and he made it kind of a bit out of it. You can see it happening. Like when I see it mainly at conventions, because like you're lecturing all the magic, and then you start seeing this face where like their head starts to go back, their eyes start to close, and their mouth just stays open. Like,
yeah.
Oh man, day three at Magic Live, like that's happening, no matter whether people want to or not in the sessions, 100%.
Yeah,
and it's like you can't even take offense to it. Like at live, like you're staying up late, you're getting up early. On the cruise ships, they're older and they've been out all day. Especially
not gonna lie, I've been that guy. Last couple of years,
You've heard it.
if you're
You've
not,
heard it first. You've heard it first
not
during
hitting
Magic
home
Live
runs.
episode 328. Doug's old. He's self-proclaimed. He's done it himself.
I mean, I've been to 8,000 Magic lectures, and yeah, I'm old. And if it's day 3, you better be freaking interesting.
Right. Yeah.
Except
Still
On the
showing
cruise
up.
ships, especially the port days, you can really tell the energy is lower in the audience, right? Because they've been out all day walking in the sun, so forth and so on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
That's
so
hectic.
so just to be clear, a port day is when you dock and then all the folks on the cruise ship will bugger off for the day and explore the land, so to speak.
Correct.
You then come back on the ship and watch your show in the evening, but they're all pooped out from being out in the sun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So we briefly brought up being an engineer earlier with the looks, but that actually was your career before moving to Magic, correct?
That is correct. So, I got a little bit of a late start in Magic. I feel like, I mean, Doug, what were you? Were you 5 when you started?
Yeah. In the words of Vernon, I wasted the first 4 years.
Right. I feel like 7 to 15 is like the classic age to get started. I didn't get started into Magic until I was 21. And it was literally this summer before I went to university to study structural engineering. And I was just so gung-ho, passionate about Magic that before I even took my first engineering course, I already said to myself, I'm gonna go through school, I'm gonna get my degree, I'm gonna work in the field, and I'm gonna wean off engineering. I mean, because it's like, as a young man, when you choose a major, you don't really know what's all involved. And so I felt like I liked it, and I did like it, and I enjoyed math and science. But then when I found Magic, it just, well over trumped, liking engineering when I loved something else.
Right. Where did you get your education? For university?
I went to school at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. It's in Central California, and it's a great school and a beautiful city. If you guys haven't been there, you should go check it out. And it is predominantly known for an engineering school, so they have good programs there.
Yeah, right. And then what advantages do you find as a magician you have from having an engineer background?
So, I would say that one of the biggest advantages is because, engineering is very technical. Now, my degree was structural engineering, but my proper title of my major was architectural engineering. And before I got into Magic or engineering, I was an artist, and I love drawing and painting. And so I felt like the architectural side would be a splash of that creativity. And it is, but with architecture too, it's very structured, right? So it's not as creative as you would hope. There's a lot of codes that stop you from making a design that you might really want to make a design, or money often will be that case. So I did get a lot from engineering on the technical side. It's hard to necessarily apply it to the Magic because they are so different. But I did get a lot being an engineer because I really did see the business side of things, and I realized that it doesn't matter what you do, engineer, Magic, or owning a grocery store. At the end of the day, it's all business, in exchange for money and services or goods.
Yeah. Show business.
So I learned a lot
words.
of that, What's that?
Well, show business is 2 words, and there's 2 parts to it. There's the show and the business.
Now, you're also a
100%, man.
Magic. I was going to say you're a Magic creator, right? You design Magic effects. Would you say some of the skill sets you acquired as an engineer applied to like creating Magic?
I mean, potentially, like I said, with engineering, like all the creativity parts of it were like, okay, how am I going to connect, this beam to this column? How do I craft up the proper bracket to do that? You don't really think about that too much in Magic. So
I would argue that we do, though.
in a
Yeah, like
sense, you're
I have
connecting.
I have an Elmsley count and a Jordan count, and I need to make it look like I'm making this card appear face up. How do I do that?
No, I get it. I totally agree. There is that similarity, but it's still so different. It's so different from creating a connection in a building.
Yeah.
One question we have from Ed is, with your engineering background, do you develop large stage illusions?
I do not. I've never been one. I've always enjoyed big stage illusions, but I've never kind of got into that aspect of magic.
Yeah.
I suppose if I did go that route, that background, in the drafting that I did on CAD, would help me. But I always thought, with the big illusions, you need a team and you need a big space and you need, a means to transport these things and, build it and break it down and all that stuff. So I've always stayed with close up and kind of stand up, parlor magic.
It is interesting when we first get into magic, how we look at people doing big, massive illusion touring shows and think that's like the goal, And for some people it is.
Right.
But isn't it interesting how we grow up and we're like, oh, actually, we can make an awesome living doing something that fits in our suitcase traveling.
It's true. And I think too that you like, for example, Metamorphosis box, right? Your sub trunk, you can't just go out to a bar or, to a friend's house and perform that. Right. But, a deck of cards just fits in your pocket. You can go anywhere and practice this and show these to spectators.
Yeah.
Look, I got local professional Greg Leeson. He comes by the shop. He does cruise ships and has for 30 years. He's currently doing a full evening show with a deck of cards for 1,200 people on the cruises.
On the cruise ship. Yeah. I think Shin Lim really made that popular, right? Kind of close-up magic on stage.
Who I'm going to give credit to? Matt Franco. He's the one that showed us we can do our card tricks from the stage.
Yeah, no, and it's true, and I think it's a great way to do it. I remember my first cruise ship, and realizing, I have to do 2 45-minute sets, and at the time thinking that's a bit daunting, and thinking maybe I'll do close up. And I remember reaching out to my agent, asking, "Hey, will I have access to a camera? Is this, will I have this ability?" And they didn't really give me a straight answer, and so I said, "You know what? I'm just gonna not worry about that. I'm going to develop 2 different 45-minute acts on stage that play for 1,000 people."
Wow. Yeah, so there's something beautiful about that, like you said, when you could just have a pack of playing cards and play to that many people. I'm reminded of a story of Denny telling us, Danny D. Ortiz, and he said he was sitting with Renee Lavonde, and Renee goes, they were just sitting there, and he's playing with the cards, and Renee says to him, "I travel the whole world, and all I got to do is take this pack of playing cards with me." And then Danny goes, "I travel the whole world, and I borrow me the deck." And I just thought that was
nice. That's great.
And I just thought that was beautiful.
That is
now, this
funny.
is the thing. Your passion obviously lies within the close-up realm, which is awesome. I think that was reflected in your 2012 win, where you won the close-up competition at the IBM. Soon after, I believe you became a 2-term president of the IBM ring in your area. As well as that, you were also invited to be part of the 4F convention. Now, the 4F convention, for those who aren't aware, that is an invite only for the best sleight of hand artists. It is, I believe it's limited to 250 people. So you obviously have some pretty amazing accolades to be a part of that. What sort of routines are you coming up with and inspirations that are granting you invites to things as prestigious as the 4F?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I was actually at Magic Live, and I was debuting my jigger that I was telling you about with the shop production, and I was doing it for a group of people at a table, and I did the whole thing, and I did the liquid load and everything. And all of a sudden, I feel this hand on my shoulder, and I turn around, and he goes, "Holy shit, you fooled the crap out of me." And I go, "Oh, I'm glad, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it." And he goes, "Do you know who I am?" And I go, "Yeah, you're Obie O'Brien." And he immediately wanted to give me a invitation to 4F. Although, no special treatment, I still had to get sponsored and I got sponsored both by Doc Eason and Eric Jones, and went to 4F. And it's great. 4F is an interesting convention, and as your first time there, you are absolutely forced to perform, right? So it's like you get your bachelor's, you go a second time you perform, you get your master's, and then if you perform a third time, you get your PhD.
Wow.
So you're forced to do it that first time and get your bachelor's. But man, is it an intimidating room? You know, it's a weird room. It's huge. You know, you got that table and 250 magicians, best magicians in the world are there, and you know, and you've seen a lot of magic. A lot of magic goes through that room. And a lot of the people even, you know, aren't English speaking. So it's a tough room. But, you know, I look at those situations and I really grow from it. You know, it's like, sure, I've performed for magicians before, right? But being in that room with 250 people is intimidating. And so I was proud of myself for doing what I did. And of course I had to do the routine that got me there. So that's what I did the first time. I got my bachelor's and went for my master's. I did a coin routine and a fooling card routine, and I have been invited back, but I just, you know, it was COVID. I got married. I have kids. It's across the country, so I haven't had a chance to be back, but I do want to.
It's probably just for the best, because here's what happens. Most times when people get the PhD in magic, they actually go to engineering from there.
Yeah.
So you didn't need that part anyway. So.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of like engineering and building an effect or building a routine, you know, I'm most curious about the treasury, because that's when we first met. You performed that for me, like just in a hallway at a party. I think we were like outside the Murphy's party or something like that. And you would perform this for me and it blew me away. Now, when you build something like that from scratch, I mean, it was the type of thing where you saw the type of gimmick that could be retrofit for your effect, or did you build it from scratch? Talk us through that process.
Yeah, that was a good time. That is when we met, and your memory is correct. It was right outside the Murphy's party. And so, you know, I remember coming up with that effect. And, you know, I think a lot of times when you come up with an effect or routine or a gimmick, you kind of start at the end.
Just explain the effect as well for folks who don't know it, Derek. Just explain it as well. Like, it's a really beautiful effect.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So the effect is you you borrow a bill from a spectator. You have them fold it up and hold on to it, and they sign it. They hold on to it. You have a card selected. The bill is then wrapped around the deck. The deck is launched from one hand to the other, trapping one card. Of course, it's their card. And prior, you know, when you first borrow the bill, you point out, you go, look, on every bill, the current treasurer and secretary signs that bill, and you show them the signature on it. Then you go through the routine, finding the card, and you go, and remember the signature we saw a moment ago, and you can show them again. And then you go, look, I can actually change the ink to actually say, you know, the 7 of spades or the Queen of Hearts or whatever selection that they have chosen. And it's strong, and it's great, and it's a keepsake, and you know, people keep it in their wallet and they never spend it and they never forget you. So really anyway, so that's the routine. Building it. I had this. It was a Martin Lewis effect, and I think it was called Ghost Rider. Anybody familiar with it?
Maybe.
I just saw that in the show.
Oh, there you go. So
yeah.
it's like a spirit slate thing, right? So the idea is you have a napkin and you draw like a little circle and there's nothing else on there. And the spectator takes a card and you blow in the napkin and it flutters and they open it up. And now inside this napkin, you know, in the circle, the spirit has written their card or whatever. So I had that gimmick and I thought it was cool. And I actually never used it. But then I don't know, I was sitting at my desk one day and I had a bill next to it and I saw the signature and I was like, oh man, like what if I did that? And I start, you know, refining it and fine tuning it. And then, you know, having to go to a custom maker for a custom gimmick and start making these bills. And like I said, because the way that his was completely different and the writing was completely different. So I went and I really customized it to look you know, I mean, obviously everyone has a different signature, but the way I've put it together, you know, you can glance that bill at them with the change signature, and they'll never know until you really start to point out that it's changed. So my point is that it really does look like a signature.
That's so good.
Yeah.
So,
And
and
what
when
have we done
building
for
it,
our
like
lives, Nick?
the device itself, like, was it something that already existed, or did you fabricate that yourself?
It did exist to an extent, but I had to take this thing that existed and customize that even further, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Seems to me the kind of effect you could have a lot of variations on, you know, beyond the card revelation. Like if you could allow for even customization on some level, that would be the coolest. But
Here's the
you
thing,
know.
right? Like, you know, Daniel Garcia's fraud, right? Where you move the
Yeah.
seal or whatever,
Mhm.
right? That needs to be done with a printer. And the
Yeah.
concept that I had basically got rid of the printer.
Yeah.
And so, sure, yeah, you could do other things other than a playing card if you wanted to. And my big thing is that I didn't need this printer. I could make it with a playing card. But if I really, really wanted to impress, let's say, a CEO, the other signature, right? So the treasurer's signature changes, and then if I really wanted to impress the CEO, the secretary's signature changes to their name. Now that is a little bit more work,
That's what I'm
right?
talking
But
about.
yeah, and that's great. And what's cool about that is that you change the first signature to the playing card, hand it out. Everyone's looking at it. Everyone's looking at it. Again, no one's even noticing the other signature. Then you grab it back and you go, look, let's take this one step further. Now you change the second signature on there.
Damn.
Love it.
Yeah.
That's why he gets booked, my friends. That's
Yeah,
why
he
he gets the
gets
big bucks.
Yes, you get Actually, you get booked all over. You've performed across the Magic Castle and Chicago Magic Lounge. What do you think the difference is between performing in those places that you've learned that you can't learn doing corporate gigs?
You know, again, you know, you go to a place like a theater, like the Chicago Magic Lounge or the Magic Castle, like they say that those are some of the best audiences in the world, right? And I've had people even tell me like, oh, if you're impressing people at the castle, like they don't take that into account because they're like, easy, anybody can do that. And you know, those are very set special rooms, you know, where you know you can do a close-up routine that you know you're sitting at a table and you do these switches or you know you can do a routine that is not very conventional. When you're working a corporate gig and you're working out of your pockets, like it's got to be strong, hard, commercial, and again practical.
Yeah, you know what?
You know that you do a lot of that stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing that, like, I guess what we have in common, performing across so many different things like theaters, like corporates, like trade shows. I'm sure that we probably have an abundance of cool gig stories to tell. What do you say, Josh? We jump into it. So gig stories is a part of the show where we talk about stories of performing magic, either from our day to day or while traveling, which is why I have one which is super annoying and I have to get it off my chest. Are you ready?
Let's go.
Let's hear it.
So I was performing it in Brisbane over the weekend and got to see my good friend Josh and, of course, our good friend, the amazing Nigel. So flew there, did my thing, and flying back. Now, I do this every time where, like, you know, you can't have certain things in your checked-in luggage when you're flying back, but you've got to, like, you know, batteries and so forth. You got to keep those in what you're carrying to avoid any unpleasantry. Now, I had the smallest amount. I just want to admit, I know I'm at fault here because I had the smallest amount of lighter fluid that I had thrown into my check-in luggage, which was a bit of a shame. Now, not a big deal. I got to that really early at the airport, check in my bag. I grab a coffee and I sit down. I get my laptop out. I was going to knock out some work. And then I get a phone call from security. You need to go to Carousel 5. There's an issue with your bag. And I'm like, okay. Now, annoyingly, the way they make coffee in Brisbane, it's like 10,000 degrees. So I couldn't even take a sip of it. So I had to go. Cool.
That's my
I had
fault.
to go.
That's
I
the
wasn't going to frame it. I was going to move on. I had to go downstairs. They're like, oh, there's something in your bag. And I'm like, oh, I might have left my lighter in there. I thought to myself, because I packed up in a mad rush. We finished up pretty late. No. And they go, oh, it's this. And I'm like, oh, it's basically empty. They're like, oh, sorry, man. Can't take it. I'm like, oh, no problem. Get rid of that. So they take the lighter fluid away. I go, no problem. Zip my bag up, put it back through. Thank you very much. I go through security a second time now. They're like, you can't bring your coffee. And I'm like, okay. It was too hot to drink anyway. Threw it away. Go inside. I now get my second coffee. I sit down, get a phone call again. You have to come back to Carousel 5. And I'm like, what is it now? They're like, you have to dispose of the liquid. And I'm like, but they took it from me. Like, they took it from me and walked off. No, you have to dispose of it. And I'm like, right. So I go down and I meet this young girl who's not that bright, but I'm not going to say anything. And I'm like, hi there. She goes, yeah, you have to dispose of this. And I'm like, okay. Not a problem. I'm like, yeah. I go, is there anywhere specific I need to do it? She goes, no, just get rid of it. I go, can I put it in that bin over there? She's like, no. I'm like, this is why I'm asking the question. Where would you like me to get rid of it? She's like, I don't know. And it's like, can I throw it outside? If I go outside and find a bin, can I throw it? She's like, yes, you can. I'm like, great. I'm going to go to the smoker's portion and throw it straight in there. Because like you're an idiot. Like, just tell me, like, go to the men's room and pour it in down the sink and then put it in the bin. Like, what if I threw it something that wasn't very appropriate? So anyway, I go and throw it away. I go through security for a third time, and I managed to catch my flight home with like 10 minutes to spare. But that's just a fun thing. So like, I'm partly to blame, and I take full responsibility for that. But also tell the guy how to get rid of whatever you want him to get rid of.
So Nick, what if you just never answered your phone?
I don't know. They probably just wouldn't have let me on the flight.
Huh.
How bizarre.
That sucks.
Yeah.
All right. My geek story is
brutal.
Yeah. My geek story is quick and not full of rage, suppressed rage. I did two of the events I did in the weekend. One was a strange one. There was a lot of government officials, and it was like a very social networking event for a lot of business owners and higher ups in Brisbane. And there were 3 of us magicians hired to be there to do roving magic. 3, I would say, top-tiered corporate magicians, which is rare that we're all working the same event. And we're like, okay, great. They're going to have a really great time seeing magic. But then they say, what we actually want you to do for the first 40 minutes of everyone arriving is we want you to be basically escorting people to their seats. Because it's a big room, we want the 3 of you to be sort of at the main gala dinner doors and use your conversing skills that you would normally use for magic, but to engage with the guests and chat to them and make them feel great and help them to their seats. And that's what 3 Brisbane magicians did for the first like 40 minutes. It was like very subtle bits of magic to like get people's attention in the room, like throwing some fire or like a quick coin one routine before you get to their seats or whatever. Yeah, you were not an usher. Yeah, thank you for that comment. You're right, but we were very overpaid ushers that evening, so that was super strange.
Yeah, sometimes you're an usher. It's all right. You got to be flexible some nights, you know.
To be honest, we were just like, this is funny, but obviously, you know, this is so easy, and we feel like, you know, they've over.
No doubt. You want me to walk people to a chair for, you know, $300-400 an hour? Sure.
100%. I'm just,
while you're on the clock.
It was just, it was a very odd. Yeah. It was just a very odd thing to happen. We were happy to take their money to do that, and it was fine. But we were like, this is so bizarre. Then the second event was the Theatre of Magic, but we had our Toowoomba branch. We were performing there, and I was doing Rubik's Cube magic, and the husband of the wife I'd gotten to help in the routine, the husband is an engineer. And so when I gave the wife the Rubik's Cube to keep after this routine, she sits down and she mixes it up, because I invite them to, you know, check, like, you keep it, you can check it, make sure, because I need you to know this is a real Rubik's Cube. It's not like got a spring or a button or something. So she mixes it up, right? But to the naked eye, she's mixed it up, but really you can see it's only like 3 moves away from being solved. Anyway, so she mixes it up, sits it down on her table. 10 minutes later, we're in a totally different routine. And this woman shrieks very loudly, like, "Oh my God." And I look over and she picks up the Rubik's Cube and it's solved again. And she's like, "How did this happen?" And it became like a show-stopping moment to deal with for a second. And then I look at the husband and I can tell by the look on his face that what he's done is secretly picked up that mixed cube and just solved it using his engineer brain to see like it's almost solved, and just sat it there and didn't say anything. And for the rest of the show, she was fixated on the fact that this cube that she mixed up became solved on her table. And we had a gentleman's agreement at the end that he would never tell her how that happened. But it was amazing.
Hooray for pre-show.
I have a fun gig story. We're going back to the pandemic when I'm flashing back to my first virtual show, which is an utter train wreck and a disaster. And I vowed never to do another one. But then I got a call from the Academy of Magical Arts, the Magic Castle people, and I couldn't say no to an offer to perform for that group. And on that day, I had the honor of working with Derek Ostovani. We did a show together online during the pandemic for the Magic Castle.
That's right. We were on that same show, Douglas.
I think you were the closer. So technically, I was the opener for you. It was an honor, if I'm not mistaken. And if I am, it's short-term memory loss. But that's my gig story. Working with Derek was a joy.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. That was a good time.
Do you still do virtual shows? Is that part of your universe ever?
You know, man, I was doing it, a couple times a year after COVID, and then, it just kind of stopped. And I never continued to promote it because I thoroughly enjoy doing it, in person much more.
I know some people still do it. I'm curious if anyone does it.
I had a bachelorette party recently reach out to me and be like, "Oh, how much is it for a virtual show?" And I was like, at this point, honestly, it's not going to be any cheaper. Like, I have to reset everything up and figure things out all together. And then I was like, you guys are going to like it much more in person. And so sure enough, they had me come in person and do it.
Great.
Yeah. And what gig story do you have, my friend? It could be from a cruise ship or trade show, anything, Magic Castle. What's
this was early in my career, and I was performing at a restaurant, and I remember a couple came in, and they didn't know that there was magic there. It was every Friday and Saturday, but they didn't have any idea there was magic there. And so I approached the table, and offered to do some magic for them. They're like, thrown off, and like, yeah, sure, that sounds great. So I do, I don't know, 7-8 minutes of magic for them. Loved it, had a great time. Blah 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 blah. Food comes. I make myself scarce, go to another table. And then shortly after, I was near that table again. I remember my back was to them and I was putting my cards back in the box. And I hear the guy go, "My watch." And I turn around and he's looking right at me. And I go, "Excuse me?" And he didn't say anything. He just kept staring. He just kept staring right at me. And again, I go, "What did you say?" It was super awkward. And I go, "What did you say?" And nothing, just stared at me. So then at that point, the girl says to me, "Did you happen to notice if he was wearing a watch?" And I walked over there and I told him, I go, "No, I didn't." And there was nothing I could do shy of producing this guy's watch to make him happy. And he called over the waitress. He called over the manager. It was just really, really uncomfortable and awkward. And I don't know if the guy was trying to get a free meal or he legitimately lost his watch or maybe just left it on the nightstand, didn't even put it on that day and just assume, oh, this magician, freaking pickpocketed me. But it was very uncomfortable.
That's so dumb.
I would love to know the aftermath of that, because obviously he must have gotten home and then gone, "Oh, I'm an idiot."
Yeah, but he did not fess up to it. So
that sucks. That's a rough one.
It was.
Yeah, look, I've been in scenarios like that as well, and it's so dumb that, like, why would you think I would like pick a pocket and steal from you and then like be here for the next 3 hours waiting to be found out? Like, how dumb How
And
dumb
and
are you?
that's the thing, a watch still can be risky, and so I try not to do it at a place of residency because I don't want them to feel, if I get caught, I don't want them to feel uncomfortable, like I was really trying to do something.
Yeah. And all I got to do is just take it the wrong way and go like, oh, no, talk to the manager. It's like, oh, you're such a douche. But when you're only there for an
Yeah,
hour,
exactly.
and
Yeah.
and that's what happens. Like there's been times where like I vanished someone's phone in my routine, and they were like, oh, well done, mate. I saw that you took a tip for yourself. I'm like, what are you talking about? And it's like $61 hit my account. I'm like, how much was your order for all the shop? It's like $61, and I'm like, scratch your head, buddy. Like,
Yeah. That's awkward.
yeah. And it's always
Yeah.
some douche in like knockoff clothing or something like that. You know what I mean? Just like, buddy,
Yep.
like you think you're my mark? You like
Yeah, exactly.
I know you're wearing your best tracksuit pants today, but
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah, give me more credit than that. I got better taste than that.
Yeah.
100%.
Like, yeah. Couldn't wait to steal your Toyota Corolla. Like just that type of idiocy.
Yeah.
But to be clear, you did steal his Toyota Corolla, yes?
Out of principle, yes. But the point is,
Not the watch.
he asked for it.
Yeah. So Derek, this, being in 2025, you've been doing magic for a long time now. You've lectured, created effects, cruise ships. Now you're a family man. Like, what is your focus, would you say, at the moment? Is there something you're mainly trying to drive towards? Whether that's
It's a
style
good
of
question.
performing, yeah.
I'm trying to not travel as much. Like I don't mind those, a few days here and there kind of thing. I don't like to be gone for the week, 2 weeks at a time. It's hard on me. It's hard on my family. As my little boy gets older, he now recognizes, daddy's gone, and that's not good. So I don't know. I'm continuing. I still enjoy doing the corporate circuit, but I think I kind of want to start to lean into getting a spot at a hotel and kind of four-walling it and having people come to me instead of me coming to them.
You should chat with our team, our magic team after this. That's
Theater of Magic San Diego. Maybe we should talk, buddy.
Honestly, there is nothing more fun than that. Out of every style that I've tried performing, it's the best framework for people to come in that lens and be ready to enjoy magic. And you can just obviously do the magic you enjoy,
right,
without traveling. Yeah, that's a great answer.
Yeah, Derek, you're also out there working like the Mystique Dining, and is it Prestige? Is that what it is? Like.
Yeah, no, both of those venues no longer exist in San Diego. There still is. There's one in Utah, one in Folsom, which is Northern California. There is kind of a pop-up in Mesa, Arizona, and I guess the newest location is it going to be in Denver? I think it is. And those are great. I thoroughly enjoy them. I've had a lot of fun doing them. But it takes me away for a week at a time. Not to say I won't do them again. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Curious about the dining aspect of that experience. Are people eating during the show?
No. It's all before. And even with my private corporate gigs, I mean that's the way to go, right? I always discourage people to be eating during the show, right? So for these, like Mystique is a 5-course meal. So they come in, they have these 5 courses, and then the magician comes out and he does a 45-minute set.
Yeah,
you should do it, Doug.
I'm waiting for the Theater of Magic Las Vegas. I'm holding out for that. Sorry,
Nice.
I'm booked for that thing.
Again,
Theater
that's
of
actually
Magic Las
not
Vegas
an
would
impossible.
slay.
That's not an impossible thing. Like the Theater of Magic Boston is up and running, and that's going really well. And so look at that. Well, we're almost out of time, but I feel like we've only really scratched the surface on Derek here. And his website and socials are in the description of where you're listening to this. So do scope him out so you can follow along with his journey. The effects you mentioned you created, Derek, are these available to magicians, or are these things you keep close to you?
They are, yeah. I have my Penguin Live lecture, which obviously is on Penguin. Treasury is through Penguin. Random odds, which we didn't get to talk about, but I was telling you guys earlier, it is literally one of the strongest effects that I could do with just a deck of cards. And fun fact, that was supposed to be called borrowed odds, because in theory, you can borrow everything. You can borrow a phone, you can borrow the bill, and you could borrow a deck. You probably won't, but you could.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, that's.
Can you? Sorry.
Yeah.
Could you synopsisize that effect? Obviously, that's something people should scope out.
Sure, absolutely. So you ask for a bill, any denomination, kind of leave it on the table. Then you take out a calculator, have other people take out calculators, and have people put in random numbers. It could be their first three of their phone number, or their social, or favorite number, or whatever. And you add up all these numbers, and then you put the phone kind of away. So we'll get back to that. Then you take a deck of cards, and you cut them into multiple piles and turn some face up, some face down. I'll Play It Straight Triumph by Bannon.
Great trick.
Great trick, right? Great trick. And then you're left with this mess of face up and face down cards. You then remove just the face down cards, and you continue to mix them up. Have the spectator tell you exactly how you want them to deal, how they want you to deal, until you're left with a small pack of cards. You go back to the calculator. You say, hit equals, what's the very first digit on there? They name it. You turn over the card. It matches. What's the next digit? It matches. The next digit matches. So all the way across, it matches. And they're so blown away at that point, they've forgotten about the bill. Well, at this point, you talk about, everyone has a unique social security number, and likewise, bills have unique serial numbers. You could have brought out any bill, turn that bill over, read that serial number out, and that really kind of kicks them in the pants and destroys them.
Killer.
Yes.
Yeah. It's very layered, right? There's a lot going on. It's awesome.
Right. That should be.
So that's also available. What's that?
Kicking someone in the pants and just destroying them should be the goal of any effect, basically.
100% agree.
And that is available through Penguin. Is that what you were going to?
That is also, that's what I was going to say. That is also available through Penguin. Now, the one thing that I've there's like two things that I haven't put out through major companies. One is I make my own cigars for the cigar through purse routine, the Leipzig routine. And then I have my take on Anniversary Waltz. It's an impromptu version. I have a booklet of it, and it's called The Horizontal Mambo.
Okay. And that's available through your website, Derek?
Not on my website, but if people just contact me, I can send it to them.
Yeah.
Actually, it might be on my website.
Well, people are going to have to go and check to scope it out.
Yeah.
First of all, look, thank you so much for coming on here, my friend. I look forward to meeting you in person one day as well. And I feel like I've gotten to know you just a little bit more now, which is really wonderful. And, just so good to know there's such handsome magicians out there doing the good work. It's really great to see. Full head of hair, real show off. But he wore the cap to not make us feel too self-conscious. We really appreciate that.
Hey, just give me your Venmos. I'll Venmo you guys afterwards. You guys don't have to go on about that.
Thank you. We're gonna it's been a pleasure. We could chat all day. But we're going to end with the episode in the way that we always do, which is by giving our guest the final word.
I guess that's my cue. It's been great being here, guys. Thank you so much. Again, my name is Derek Ostovani. You can find me at Magic with Derek, all the socials, my website. Definitely check out my Penguin Live lecture. There's a killer routine in there called Lie to Me. Check out Random Odds, Treasury, and my booklet, Horizontal Mambo. See you guys next time.
Thanks for listening. It's time for us to disappear now. But we'll see you again on the next episode of The Magic Guys.